Today I'm going to talk about the topic of encouragement. I'm going to talk about us encouraging one another and also where our comfort is to come from. So Hebrews 10:24 to 25 says, "And let us be concerned for one another, in order to stir up love and good works, not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together, as is the habit of some, but encouraging, and so much more as you see the day coming near." So you might be familiar with the King James translation of this, which is exhorting. And the word can mean exhorting, that's perfectly reasonable, but it can mean to encourage or to comfort one another. And the King James actually uses comfort for this verb. So it could be comfort, it could be to exhort one another, which is a particular sort of encouragement or exhorting. The word is parakaleo. We see a related word which is paraklesis or paraklesis in Romans 15. For whatever was written before was written for our instruction, that through endurance and encouragement of the Scrptures we might have expectation. And in the King James Version, this word, which is a noun, related obviously to the verb parakleo, is translated as comfort. So it would be endurance and comfort of the Scrptures. So that is what I would like to look at today, to look at some Scrptures which provide this encouragement. Could be exhortation or it could be comfort. I think that comfort is a good way to understand this particular word. In Romans 1, at the beginning of his letter, it says, "For I long to see you so as to impart some spiritual gift to you for you to be established." And that is to be encouraged together. That's the verb parakleo with the prefix sim, which makes it encouraged together. Think symbiotic. Sim parakleo among you. That is for Paul to be encouraged and for the congregation to be encouraged, each by the other's belief or faith, yours and mine. So our belief or our faith can be an encouragement to others. And the word of Elohim is to be the thing that we have faith in and the thing that we take comfort or encouragement from. In Isaiah 51, 9 to 13, it says, "Awake, awake, put on strength, O arm of Yehovah. Awake as in the days of old, everlasting generations. Was it not you who cut Rahab apart and pierced the Tannin?" And that's not Rahab, that is Rahab, which is mentioned also in Psalm 87 and Psalm 89 as a nation that Yehovah destroyed. And that is what is being referenced here. And the Tannin is actually a Hebrew word, and it's the word that is used in Genesis 1 when it talks about Yehovah creating the sea creatures. Pharaoh is also described as a Tannin, the Pharaoh of the Exodus. It can mean like sea monster here in the ISR. it is translated as crocodile. But really, a great sea beast, say, would be a good translation. Was it not you who dried up the sea, the waters of the great deep, and who made the depths of the sea a way for the redeemed to pass over? So the Tannin, the Leviathan would be a good example of a Tannin. But we see here, was it not you who dried up the sea? And this is simultaneously a reference to when Israel crossed over the Red Sea, and what that prophesies of, which is when the deep, which is in the midst of Sheol is on the sides of the pit. We see that the deep will be made a way for those who are ransomed, who are on one side of Sheol in Abraham's bosom, or where Abraham is. That is made a way for the redeemed to pass over. So the redeemed pass over like Israel did through the Red Sea, and then the people who were not redeemed by Yahovah cannot pass over. The ones who are on the side of Sheol that you don't want to be on, they cannot pass over, just like Pharaoh's army couldn't pass over. And let the ransomed of Yahovah return, and they shall come to Zion with singing and everlasting joy on their heads. Let them attain joy and gladness, sorrow and sighing shall flee away. So there we see that this is in fact a reference to what is yet future for us. The ransomed of Yehovah returning and going to Zion. Obviously, when the children of Israel crossed over the Red Sea, they didn't go to Zion. So what is spoken of here is spoken of in the future perfect tense, i.e. that which will be achieved. So the ransomed of Yehovah returned, and they shall come, or have come, you could translate it, to Zion with singing and everlasting joy on their heads. And then we get a flavour of what we read of in Revelation, when there are no tears and death is destroyed. I am he who comforts you. Who are you that you should be afraid of man that dies, and of the Son of Man who is made like grass? So we commonly see this in the Scrptures, where Yehovah acknowledges that there are things that we are afraid of, but he says, it's me that comforts you. So he says things like, when you are afraid of this, don't be afraid. So he acknowledges that we will be afraid of things, and then he says, but it is me that you have trust and that gives you comfort. And you have forgotten Yehovah your Maker, who stretched out the heavens and laid the foundations of the earth, and you continually fear all the day because of the rage of the oppressor, as he has prepared to destroy. And where is the rage of the oppressor? In other words, Yehovah is greater than all of these things. Where is the rage of the oppressor? You have forgotten Yehovah, who stretched out the heavens and the earth and did all of these incredible things. You've forgotten that actually he is the one on your side. And if he is for you, who can be against you? You have forgotten those things when you fear of the things of man. As Yeshua said, Don't fear him who can destroy the body. Fear him who can destroy the soul and body in Gehenna, or in the lake of fire. I lift up my eyes to the hills. Where does my help come from? My help comes from Yehovah, maker of the heavens and the earth. I'm not afraid of the things in heaven and earth. I'm afraid of the one who made them. He does not allow your foot to be moved. He watches over you, does not slumber. See, he who is guarding Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. Yehovah is your guard. Yehovah is your shade at your right hand. The sun does not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. Yehovah guards you from all evil. He guards your soul. He guards your going out and your coming in, now and forever. So you have a choice when you are surrounded by things that are evil, things that may overcome you, whether or not you trust Yehovah, to look upon those things that threaten you and to say, well, actually, Yehovah guards me from these things. They may be threatening to me, but they're not threatening to Yehovah. Psalm 31, 22 to 24 says, And I have said in my haste, I am cut off from before your eyes. Yet you heard the voice of my prayers when I cried out to you. Love Yehovah, all you his kind ones, his chassid. For Yehovah guards the trustworthy ones, and exceedingly repays the doer of pride. Be strong and let him fortify your heart, all you who are waiting for Yehovah. So, when things go wrong, it can be tempting to forsake Yehovah and to say, well, your word is not true. I am cut off from before your eyes. But what is required of us is that we would have faith in Yehovah in the midst of adversity. If not in the midst of adversity, then when? When is it good to say that you trust Yehovah? If you say you trust in him when things are going well, then it's not worthless to trust in him then, but it's not worth as much as trusting in him when things are going badly. He gives power to the faint, and to those who have no might, he increases strength. Even youths shall faint and be weary, and young men stumble and fall. But those who wait on Yehovah renew their strength. They raise up the wing like eagles. They run and are not weary. They walk and do not faint. And when you're feeling like you've got little strength, then it's good to remember these things. Yehovah's purpose will be achieved regardless of how much strength you feel that you have to achieve his purpose. If he needs you to do something, he can give you the strength to do it. Isaiah 43, 1-4 says, But now thus said Yehovah your creator, O Jacob, he who formed you, O Israel. Do not fear, I have redeemed you. I have called you by name. You are mine. When you pass through the waters, I am with you, and through rivers, they do not overflow you. When you walk through fire, you are not scorched, and a flame does not burn you. For I am Yehovah your Elohim, the set-apart one of Israel, your Saviour. I gave Mitzrayim for your ransom, Cush and Seba in your place. Since you were precious in my eyes, you have been esteemed or glorified. And I have loved you, and I give men in your place, and peoples for your life. So Yehovah will achieve his purpose, even if he needs to give up whole nations for our sake. We think that in order to be just, Yehovah has to be savior to everyone. But that's not the case. That's not how he sees it. He sees it that it is fair and equitable and just for nations of people to be given up for the sake of those who would cherish his word. And he says in the first two verses here, he talks about when adversity comes, it's not that you won't go through adversity, but rather that he will be with you and won't allow it to overtake you, won't allow you to be overcome by the adversity. Matthew 11 verse 28 says, "Come to me, all who labor and are burdened, and I shall give you rest." In the Greek, in the English translation of the Hebrew, it says, "Come unto me, all you who are weary and are enduring labor, and I will help you to bear your yoke. Take my yoke as your yoke, and learn of me that I am humble and good and pure of heart, and you shall find rest for your souls. And my burden is light." The bit in parentheses there isn't in the text. That actually comes from the Greek, because my yoke is soft and my burden light. So we can either endeavor to travel through the world with the burdens that come from being in the world, things that we imagine or the way that the world expects us to be, or we can come to Yeshua and his yoke. The Torah is easy to do, that we would walk in his ways, even if it seems difficult. If we submit to him and walk through it, we will find actually it is easy to do those things. 1 Corinthians 15:58 says, "Therefore, my beloved brothers, be steadfast, immovable, always excelling in the work of the Master, knowing that your labor is not in vain in the Master." We might look at things and say, well, my labor here is in vain. But if we are doing what he has given us to do, then our labor is not in vain. We might not see exactly why that is the case, why we are laboring. We might not see that, but if we trust in him, then we trust that our labor is not in vain. Don't look at things from your own reckoning. Always look at things from the point of view of what the Scrptures say. And if you trust Yehovah, you trust his word, then when you look at the things that are going on, even if to your reckoning it is evil or it's some form of adversity, know that Yehovah is sovereign, he is in control, and he will use what you are doing for good if you are one who loves him and are called according to his purpose. Again, it's all about his purpose. He knows what his purpose is, and he knows how to achieve it and bring it to be. All we need to do is to walk in submission to him and know that our contribution has been ordained, if you like, by Yahovah and trust in him to use it as he will. Psalm 32 verse 8 says, "Let me instruct you and teach you in the way you should go. Let me counsel, my eye be on you." So Yahovah requires of us that we would be submitted to his way of doing things. And then, even if adversity comes upon us and we think, well, what is the way through here? I can't work it out. As long as we follow his instructions, then things will work out in the way that he wants them to. We might not be able to figure out exactly why things are as they are, but if we trust him, then we know, and we know that we're walking in the way that he says to, then we know that they will work out for good. Psalm 23, 3-4 says, "He turns back my soul. He leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. When I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me." Maybe in the Greek they encourage me. They exhort me, certainly. But what this is saying is the same idea as him leading us in the right way. If he leads us in the paths of righteousness, then we can trust in him. When adversity comes upon us, we can continue to trust in him, knowing that we're in the right place. So the adversity has not come upon us because we are opposing Yahovah. And if he is with us, then who can be against us? It doesn't matter how much evil surrounds us. If we trust in him, then we know that he will triumph over us and he will deliver us through it. John 14:27, Yeshua speaks of these things. He says, "Shalom I leave with you, my shalom I give to you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid." So you might be able to seek comfort from things that are in the world, but that's not the comfort, the shalom that we get from Yahovah. And I would encourage you to go back and watch again the video Shalom to really understand what is being said here. You know, if you've seen the video before, watch it again. I would encourage you to. The Shalom that we get from Yahovah is not kind of the security that we could get from the world around us, or a feeling of safety and security in the world. That they are nothing. Those things that we could gather to ourselves are nothing compared to the shalom that comes from walking before the Father in a correct way and trusting in him, knowing that he is there for you. Because you have drawn close to him, he will draw close to you. In John 16, a couple of chapters later, and all of this is what Yeshua told the disciples at the Last Supper. He said, "See, an hour is coming, and has now come, that you are scattered each to his own, and leave me alone. Yet I am not alone, because the Father is with me." I imagine it would have taken great faith to think that, and to know that to have faith in that, as all of the disciples were scattered and left Yeshua alone to undergo what he underwent. These words I have spoken to you, that in me you might have shalom. In the world you have pressure, but take courage, I have overcome the world. That word for pressure there is thlipsis, and it's related to the word that Yeshua used in the Sermon on the Mount in Matthew 7, when he says that the way is hard pressed, which leads to life. That word is related to this word. Paul says, and you might have different translations, but that word that Yeshua uses in the Sermon on the Mount, Paul says we are hard pressed but not crushed. In the opening of one of the things that he talks about, he had a tribulation in the world. I believe it's in 2 Corinthians 4 that Paul uses that word. So we have pressure, but the admonition here is to take courage, because Yeshua speaking here, but Yahovah more broadly, has overcome the world. The world is the thing that we see, but we must not respond to the things that we see. We must respond to that which we have faith in, the Word, and the Word made flesh said to us, I have overcome the world. If we have faith in what we can see, then that's useless to us. If we can make ourselves safe and secure in the world, that is useless compared to having the peace, the shalom that comes from walking with Yahovah. 2 Corinthians 4 verse 17 says, for this slight momentary pressure, again this is the same word, thlipsis. I believe he uses the other word also in 2 Corinthians 4. But this slight momentary pressure is working for us a far more exceeding and everlasting weight of esteem or glory. So whatever it is, if you have something in your life that applies this pressure to you, know that to Yahovah he is using all things for the good of those who love him and are called according to his purposes. So if you feel pressure in your life, know that it can serve as a test of your faith to keep going and to actually believe in the face of adversity that Yahovah is with you, to believe the word even when you might want to speak in faith, speak in haste, and say, I am cut off from before your face. Even in those moments, have faith in the word, which gives us all of this encouragement that we're looking at. Deuteronomy 31 7-8 says, and Moshe called Yahushua Joshua and said to him before the eyes of all Israel, be strong and courageous, for you are going with this people to the land which Yahovah has sworn to their fathers to give them, and you are to let them inherit it. And it is Yahovah who is going before you. He himself is with you. He does not fail you nor forsake you. Do not fear nor be discouraged. And I imagine that if Joshua didn't have faith when he was going up against the armies in the land. It would be easy for him to see that pressure and say, Israel have been cut off from before your eyes, Yehovah. But just as Joshua was encouraged with these words, be strong and courageous, that is what the word would encourage of us also. 1 Corinthians 16 verse 13 says, watch, stand fast in the belief or the faith, be men, be strong. Believe those things which we've read through in this video. Believe in them. Know that they are true, even when it seems that your faith is fruitless. And we see examples of that in the scripture, where people will say, of what use is it to do these things? Even when to your natural senses it might seem like that. Know that you can trust in Yehovah, remain firm in the belief or the faith, and be strong and courageous as Joshua was encouraged to be. Yehovah willing, I'll see you next week.